She's Danny.
He's Josh.
And you've just tuned into the conversation.
We have a great show planned this month.
That's right. Now, Danny, whether you're 5 or 80, if you live in Memphis, you know this voice. It's Big Sue this month on the conversation. And in fact, she worked here at WUMR, where we are today.
Really?
Yes, she did. At K97 right now is our entertainment correspondent, Akilah Speaks. Akilah, take it away.
Today with me, I have the beautiful Miss Big Sue on your hottest radio station in Memphis, K97. Big Sue,
yes, ma'am.
You're on from AM to midday. You're in 27 markets. Mm-hmm. You also do club appearances.
Mm-hmm. I try to stay busy.
I mean, how do you do it all?
You know what, I think I'm really good with time management. You kind of have to be. Like my mornings, my alarm goes off in the morning literally about 3:45. So, you know, it's get to work, get through the morning show, and then get to midday. So, yeah, I'm on air here in Memphis from 6 a.m. until 3 p.m. There's also, like, a lot of, you know, off-the-mic prep time that goes into that. Like, the night before, you know, I'm also the morning show producer. So, you know, I'll kind of get some topics, whatever we're going to talk about the day before, and kind of send it out so that everything is ready to go by the time we get here at 6 and start the show.
Being prepared. But, so, what sparked your interest in radio?
Honestly, I want to say it was my love for music, genuinely. And, you know, I spent a lot of times, you know, in the club while I was in college, University of Memphis. And so, you know, it got to a point where I started emceeing. I was being handed the microphone. So, I remember there was one night in particular, there was the hiring PD for the radio station I was trying to, you know, get a job with. And they're like, talk so he can hear you and, you know, see how you sound and everything. And I remember cutting air check after air check. You know, that's the tape that you put together, you know, for the PD so they can see how you would sound, you know, on their station. And I had put together like probably 3. Mm-hmm. And month after month, I'm constantly coming back, you know, with something. And then after seeing me in the club and hearing my last air check, you know, that was it for me.
Yes, because your voice is amazing. It's
Thank
like
you.
Anywhere you go, if you speak, we know. I get questioned a lot.
Oh, yeah?
Who is Big Sue?
Yeah.
Who is Big Sue? It's like, we know that voice, but who is Big Sue? So guess what? You all are getting to meet Big Sue today. Having Big Sue. Also, what led you here to K97?
Wow, that's a really long story, but the short end, I was with another station for about 5 years. I actually started in Omaha, Nebraska, like their first urban formatted radio station, and so when I had a break for between semesters, I would go home and do radio. And then I came back to Memphis and actually started with WUMR, the jazz station. And it's really kind of funny because at the time I didn't know anything about jazz. I'm just like, okay, I'm supposed to play this at this time. So I really got a really good appreciation for the music, right? And then I started with the other station. I was there for about 5 months. And I also did radio in Louisiana, and I think that was like my first real task of handling multiple stations, because I did middays on a station called KRRQ Q95.5 in Lafayette, and at the same time I was doing middays at Max 94.1 as well.
Okay.
So that kind of prepared me, and then it was time for me to come back to Memphis and landed here at K97, which is one of the stations I've always wanted to work with. I mean, it's a heritage station. People around the country know the station, so I take a lot of pride in finally being here. So 5 years later, you know, I'm the assistant program director, the morning show co-host and producer, and the midday talent, and I DJ. So
yes, and
it's a story.
You came back and dominated because you're one of the top female DJs in the country.
Thank you.
How does that feel?
I guess I don't see it, but thank you. You know, I think when you're so busy, you're working and you're trying to progress and you're trying to do more. You really just don't pay attention to it because you're so busy focusing on, okay, what do I need to be doing next?
Yes, because a lot of aspiring people look up to you. So what advice do you have for those who want to go into radio?
Radio has changed so much. To be honest with you, I think the most important thing that you can take with you is a very broad skill set. I mean, it's more than just, you know, keeping up with the music and keeping up with the artists and current events and what's going on in the community. I mean, there's also a lot of other elements. Social networking has played such a major part with our promotions just in the past, I want to say 3 years.
Right.
So you kind of have to be social networking savvy as far as doing video. There's a lot of different components that go into what we do on a daily basis and what we're bringing to listeners. So having that skill set and being able to do a lot of different things very well is probably the most important thing.
Okay. There's also a lot of artists across the city, also nationwide. They inquire about how they can get onto radio, how they can start off their careers, launch their promotions and everything like that. So as far as with the radio industry, I know there's a lot of pros and cons to it, and the differences between commercial stations and non-commercial stations.
Right.
So what would be your advice for artists that are trying to, rap, sing, get their career launched? What would be your advice for them coming into the industry?
Okay. And again, this is another philosophy that's changed a lot over the years, but for somebody who is rapping or singing or producing or whatever they're doing right now, is really establishing what we call their buzz. You know, if you've got a fan base and you've got demand for your product, we have no choice. And we're always, out in the community, we're out. So we know who's, creating that buzz, who's making that noise. We'll find you.
Right.
So I think the most important thing, unsigned or independent artists need to know is they've got to keep working. That doesn't mean, sitting behind the computer and sending links to everybody all day.
Right.
You've got to get some FaceTime in. You've got to get these shows in, and you've got to continue focusing on building your brand and building your fan base.
Yeah.
Radio is definitely a part of it, but it's not like it was 5 or even 10 years ago, where it's like, okay, if I get my song on the radio, then the fan base will grow.
Right.
That's not it.
Yeah, because everyone's looking for that big deal, that record deal. They're like, hey, do you get a lot of people that come up to you?
Yes.
Hey, put my song on the radio,
Yeah, and because I DJ in the clubs and I'm also the assistant program director, of course, we get that when we're out. And, there's a protocol for all of it. We take emails. We don't have a set music day. The program director, Devin Steele, and I, we literally talk about new music every single day. Because, at the end of the day, our job is to bring the best to our listeners. We're competing for their time.
Right.
In an age where everybody's got their iPods or they're online or whatever, where we're right there on iHeartRadio. You can download K97 and take us with you. So it's all about, keeping them engaged.
Right.
So we have to be... We have to be very choosy in the content that we choose.
Yes. Also, to bring it back, iHeartRadio. With that being said, make sure you all download iHeartRadio to your iPad, your phone. It's a really great app. I have it on my phone.
Thank you very much.
So whenever I want to tune into Big Sue, I just, cut on my phone.
Right.
You work with Mike Evans and the morning team every morning.
Yes.
Is that crazy?
That's absolutely crazy, because at any given moment you never know what little slick joke is going to happen, or we spend a lot of time off air when the mics are off, or just even in here just kind of throwing out ideas. Okay, well, this is the story, and all right, well, and kind of discussing it, because all three of us have different opinions, so we may not always agree. And I think that makes for entertaining content when it's time to turn the mics on. We have a lot of fun, we have a lot of jokes, but it's been awesome, because Mike Evans has such, he's a legacy when it comes to K97 radio.
Yeah. And I also enjoy listening to Paternity Test too.
Which, by the way, those aren't actors. We get asked that probably the most. Where do you find these people? And these are like true stories that happen like right here in the city. These aren't hired actors. This is real. Yeah.
Maury isn't the only person that can provide paternity tests for people who may be confused about their baby's father.
Right, we got DNA Steve. That's a little slick plug right there.
We're just saying, So if you want to inquire about your baby's father, check the K97 website and you'll find out all the information you need to know. So what would probably be the craziest show you've done?
I can't say the craziest show, because it really just happens in moments. And it's always involving somebody who's listening. It may involve somebody who's here on the show. For Paternity Test Tuesday, we've got some crazy things that have happened that we could not air. Like, honestly, but usually the funniest things happen when we're engaged with a listener. We might throw something out there and a listener calls in with something so funny that, we couldn't have written it. And it's just really good to know that you've got that engagement coming from a listener and coming from the community when you make that connection. And you just never know. They might come out of left field with something that's just hilarious.
And just catch you off guard.
Those are the craziest moments when somebody calls us and we can't even get through the break because we're laughing at something that they said. So that's probably the wildest.
So, I mean, to get some more personal questions. So, who would you consider your favorite artist?
My favorite artist? If you listen to the show, you would probably know it's Jay-Z. But
Jay-Z fan.
I'm a huge Jay-Z fan. I'm a huge rap fan. Just period. So, of course, Biggie, Pac, Jay-Z. Jadakiss is definitely in there. I listen to a lot of Rick Ross. I listen to a lot of Outkast. Man, anything Andre 3000 is on, I'm listening to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so those are probably some of my favorite artists.
Okay.
When it comes to rap, I listen to a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything. Yes, always good to be diverse. Just kind of tune into everything.
Yeah.
If you had to choose
Mm-hmm.
to DJ in another genre or field at another station, what other genres of music would you prefer?
To be honest with you, I would probably choose. This is gonna sound crazy. I love Chicago house music, honestly. Like that old
You're gonna have to tell us about Chicago house
The
music.
Chicago house music, what you hear now as techno, a lot of that evolved from house music, whether it came from Chicago or Baltimore or New York, and it's the repetitive drums and everything. But what I love about Chicago house music, I was born in Chicago,
Okay.
and especially when they were using live instruments, there's just an energy that's in that music. Like in hip hop, there's a real good energy that comes out of it. So
Right.
that would probably be my first choice. I love the pop music too, So I think anything.
Who's your favorite pop artist?
Favorite pop artist?
I like Katy Perry.
I love Katy Perry. She's funky. I love her. Can I pick Rihanna? Rihanna's pop.
I like Rihanna too,
Yeah.
but she's kind of R&B, pop. I guess everyone's starting to make that change and that transition.
She's got songs on urban charts and pop charts as well. So she definitely counts. And when you put one of her CDs in, it was bad. Like I couldn't. Good Girl Gone Bad. Do you remember when that came out?
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't get that CD out of the truck. I was almost mad every time I got in the car. I'm like.
Look,
It's good music. That's what happens when you put out good music. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Good music. Also, that brings us to our next question.
Mhm.
From the time you got started here at K97,
Yes.
or if you want to say from the beginning, but I'm going to say K97.
Okay.
How do you think hip hop has changed? How has it evolved? What has any revolutionary changes,
I think.
or has it stayed the same?
I don't know if I could say it stayed the same. I mean, of course, you got, from just 3 years ago, you got new artists. 5 years ago, you got a lot of new artists with, their own brand and their own message.
Mm-hmm.
I think the business side has probably changed a little bit more. Like earlier, we were talking about independent artists and how they get, their records played. I think when it comes to music, especially hip-hop, you see a lot, one trend that I'm seeing right now, you see a lot of more of these collaborative efforts. DJ Khaled's got like 7 of your favorite rappers, all squeezed into 4 minutes.
In one song, right.
And when you really look at hip-hop right now, you've got some very powerful forces. Like, when we first heard about independent labels, okay, we heard No Limit, we heard Cash Money, now, Jay-Z's got Rock Nation, Kanye West has good music. Baby and Slim and Lil Wayne, there's Cash Money, and then there's YMCMB, you know what I mean? There's Rick Ross with the whole Maybach music movement. So you see a lot of these hip-hop artists which are not just artists anymore. You're seeing more CEOs. Right. So what's happening is they're able to sign more artists that have like a varied sound. Like I love what MMG is doing right now. Like when Rick Ross first signed Wale, anybody who was a core fan of Wale doesn't sound like Rick Ross.
No.
Right. Whereas good music, not to say those artists sound alike, because lyrically they're all different, but they're all lyrical.
Energy.
A similar energy, right? But with MMG, I think, and that's not to say one is better than the other, but I think you've just got a different variety of artists.
Right.
So what has changed the most, I want to say, in these last couple of years, you've got more of these superstar MCs that are coming out, and they're developing their own businesses.
Right.
And that's even generating more money, because you got Nicki Minaj, who's breaking records all over the place on the pop side. the endorsements that she's getting is absolutely major. Lil Wayne, his Mountain Dew endorsement. So you're seeing more changes, I want to say, on the business side.
Right. Because, I mean, we're just used to sitting back from a listener's perspective. We just want to listen to those artists, and we just want to catch up on the beat.
Right.
So it's like now that they're kind of coming together and they're collaborating, they're becoming a force. But my next question, you know, I'm just waiting on them to start beefing, you know, groups. Hey, we're going to have MMG versus Good Music or something? No.
I don't want to see it. I don't. I don't.
And you want to see your favorite artist tear up and say, hey, my tour is better than your tour. No, my tour is better than your tour.
Right. I think you see more of the beef. I mean, you still see it now, but it's more on an individual basis. And, you know, when we saw what was going on between certain artists, the camps made sure that, hey, we're not going to be camp versus camp, because that stops the flow of money.
Right.
You know, that goes against business.
So how do you feel when you're interviewing artists personally? I mean, is it a privilege? I mean, are you excited, or is it just something like, hey, I do this all the time?
No, you know what? I think it always depends on who the artist is. You know, because sometimes I just get really excited, especially if it's an artist that I know I'm like a super, super fan of. So, you know, we get nervous, you know, sometimes. Yeah. And, you know, sometimes we really want to see, because you have to understand, even though this person may have rock crowds of millions, this is still a person that you're speaking to.
Right.
And they could be in any kind of mood on any given day.
Yes.
You know, and then sometimes you're just really pleasantly surprised how down to earth and how very cool a lot of these people are.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, it's always new, because you know at the end of the day you're going to learn something about this artist that you didn't know before you actually got a chance to talk to them. It's one thing to read something on the net, they gave this interview to somebody, but when you're actually in a room having a conversation with somebody, it just gives a different level of depth to who they are as an artist.
Right. See, you can't go by the he say and the she say and all the gossip. You have to kind of meet them in person.
Right.
So, behind the scenes, what goes on behind the scenes? Because everyone just looks at radio like, oh, you get to talk to thousands and thousands of people, local, nationwide, you know, in the different markets and everything like that. I mean, is there any difficulties behind radio?
Difficulties? Yeah, and I think that also depends on who you are and what are the challenges, what challenges you're facing, like personally. You know, for me, it's time management. It's making sure that everything, you know, I have a lot of responsibility. So, like, my challenge may be, you know, running down my task, making sure that everything has been completed and I'm ready to go, you know, for the next day.
Right.
But no, what you were talking about, like, with different artists, I think the coolest part, what listeners may and may not know, is some of these artists that have been around for a minute, we've seen them on so many different occasions. You know, like Rick Ross has been in the market before. 2 Chainz, you know, he's been in the game for a minute. Right. So when we get these artists that come into the market that we actually have relationships with, it's cool to see them. So it's not like you're interviewing somebody for the first time and you're trying to gauge, okay, what kind of mood, and, you know, and okay, are they going to answer this question or not answer this question? But when somebody comes in and you're relaxed and you kind of know their story or whatever, and you've been around them enough, I think it makes for a better interview.
Yes, because some people, I mean, there are a lot of underground artists who are underground. What she say, love and hip hop, she's filthy, she's dirty.
She wants to come up for air. I love Deb Atney, I love her.
There's a lot of underground artists that people just don't know about until they get their big break.
Right.
So, again, for those artists who haven't come out, it's not about sitting behind the computer and just sitting, hey, listen to my song, listen to my song.
Right.
You have to get out there, you have to promote, you have to build your brand, you have to market, you have to build that audience, you know, everything like that. So
I also want to add too, for, you know, independent artists, I think another thing is, if you're focused and you know, started building your brand and you've got a sizable fan base, the next thing is really being groomed as an artist.
Right.
You know, knowing that it's not going to be, okay, concert after party. You know, there's a lot of other parts to it, because this is the music business. You know, there's going to be those retail runs. There's going to be those radio stops. You know what I mean? There's going to be those endorsements. There's going to be a lot of work outside of the studio as well.
Right.
So just like earlier we were talking about, you know, somebody who wants to get in the radio needs to have a broad skill set. An artist on that level, you know, is going to have a broad skill set as well.
As well, yeah. All right. How would you like to be remembered legacy-wise when Big Sue is done?
When I'm done?
Called it a day. When she's out, when she's about 60,
100?
70?
100? Because I would like to say that day is very, very far away.
Yeah, she's still quite young though. She's quite young though.
Yeah, thank you very much.
They have a long way to go.
Legacy, I don't know. That's so big, and I can't see it right now, so I guess it's kind of hard to answer. But if I wanted somebody who had been listening to me to say they remembered me for something, somebody who was always genuine. If that's anything, if there's like, you know, young women or girls or whatever that listen, you know, to the show,
Right.
I would like for them to get that it's okay to be you, no matter who you are.
Right.
You know, and to always keep it real and to always, you know, keep it honest. Never to, you know, bite your tongue for anything.
Right.
You know, and that hard work, you know, pays off.
I think that's a real positive note, because you are a role model to a lot of girls.
Thank you.
You're a role model to me.
Oh, thank you, Akilah.
I'm like, hey, I can't wait to be Big Sue. I think
Then you're like, Big Sue,
a year ago, I was at a party, and this girl was like, hey, you know, that's Big Sue. And I was like, Big Sue? I've been dying to meet Big Sue. And I went up to you and I introduced myself. I know you probably like, who is this crazy girl? But you know, I was like, hey.
No, I hope I didn't give that off.
And I told everybody, I met Big Sue. I met Big Sue. And they were like, what she look like? I'm like, she's pretty. I love Big Sue. And working with you has been a pleasure. I really enjoy it. I really just sit back and kind of just watch you. You know, kind of. So you've been a role model to me.
Thank you very much.
You know, and I like everything that you do. I think you keep it real. You keep
That's
it
right.
100.
That's right.
And you are very genuine.
Thank you.
Well, also with that being said, take it into our last question to wrap up the conversation. What do you feel sets you apart from other female DJs?
Honestly, I'm not quite sure that there is another on-air personality that probably handles as many tasks on a daily that I do. I'm look, and that's no hate, because there are a lot of hardworking women in the industry. I haven't found my counterpart.
Okay.
You know, because of all the things that I do with the DJing and the other markets, and you know, also being a programmer as well. It's a lot of hats to wear. I enjoy every one of them. You know, but I think that's one of the things that probably sets me apart is my work ethic. Like, I don't stop. Just because I leave this building, I'm still on, because it's a career.
Right.
You know, it is, you know, a big part of my life.
That's
so I would probably say, I'd probably say that's probably what sets me apart the most.
So would you consider yourself like the Wonder Woman of radio?
Oh my gosh, I'll let you say that, but
we're gonna call Big Sue the Wonder Woman of radio, because you have the diva, you know.
I would say that I'm definitely one of the hardest working.
Big Sue, everybody, give a round of applause.
Thank you, Akilah.
Thanks so much, Akilah. That was a great interview. Big thanks to Big Sue. I love Big Sue. Don't you love Big Sue?
I love Big Sue. She keeps me jamming with the 30-minute throwbacks every Friday.
Yes, and I love it. Who's your favorite artist on the throwback? 30-minute throwback.
You know what? I love it when she plays the old Destiny's Child. I love it.
My Virgo sis, Beyonce.
Yes.
Yes.
Of course.
Anyway,
of course you claim her.
Of course. Anyway, big thanks to Big Sue. And for the conversation, I'm Joshua Bolden.
And I'm Danielle Wilbur.
For past episodes, conversation extras, and exclusive sneak peeks, visit theconversation.weebly.com. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at NADJ Combo and like us on Facebook, keyword The Conversation.